What's going on, Giants fans? Today we're going to be doing a video about Eli Manning and the outlook for him in 2018. A two-time Super Bowl winner, most passing yards, most passing touchdowns in Giants history. But there's still a lot of debate at what this 37-year-old quarterback can do for us in 2018. And there's been a lot of improvements this offseason, and some things with Mcadoo that people don't really look at that I think diminished the play of Eli, and obviously his stats have declined the last few years, and you could see here, 2014, 2015 were great years, and started declining since then, but last year, you really can't blame Eli for everything. 2016, Mcadoo ran just the simplest offense in the league, and we'll get into that later. But so basically, I'm just going to dive into reasons to believe that Eli Manning will be successful in 2018. So first, let's jump into offensive line issues, and it's no secret that the Giants' offensive line in the last few years has been absolutely pathetic, and they have not put a good product on the field for Eli. He's obviously a pocket passer. He's not great at eluding defenders. And for a quarterback like Eli, you need some time to throw, and you could see from some examples here, there are times where he literally has no time. His tackles get beat like it's nothing. You see right here. I remember watching this play. I think Eli made a bad decision trying to throw this ball. This play in Green Bay was just despicable how Perkins just watched it, and it was a fumble the whole time. But yeah, his guys just get beat like it's nothing, and you really can't put that on a quarterback. Your guys in the offensive line are just getting outplayed like it's nothing. And, hopefully the improvements of bringing in Nate Solder and Will Hernandez, Omame, guys like that, can hopefully give Eli enough time. Eli Manning's obviously not the guy he was in 2011, but I still think he's a very capable quarterback, and if you put the right pieces around him, he could be successful. Now, I don't know if this Giants team is that good, but it's definitely an improvement from what we've seen last year. But in order for Eli to be good next year, he needs some time to throw. Just a little bit more than last year. There were some plays where he was about to get the ball off and get stripped at the last seconds. He just needs a little bit more time in order to get the ball out of his hands. Now, the lack of complexity on offense, and me not liking Mcadoo at all, this is really hilarious to look at. I remember reading reports, I think it was this year, when they played the Buccaneers, and Vernon Hargreaves, who I think he's in his second year, was telling Odell Beckham that we know most of what you're doing on offense. And Mcadoo's offense was so goddamn simple, it was unbelievable. He ran the same personnel every time. As a Giant fan, you knew that when it was 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9, they were going to do a halfback draw, just same shit, different game. And, a guy like Pat Shurmur is going to throw a lot of different things at you. And, I think different play calling. The NFL is a game where you need to outthink your opponent. I'm obviously no offensive coordinator, but, if you're going to run the same stuff and give the defense you're playing against the upper hand, it just makes it that much harder. And it's not like the Giants are that talented where they can just call these simple plays and make it work. You need to kind of outthink your opponent here. So, this young cornerback telling Giants, hey, we know what you're doing, it's really embarrassing. And I think, not enough people look into Mcadoo's offense, and it didn't play to Eli's strengths. They made him change his whole game. Eli was great at throwing deep off play action. They basically took that away, and Mcadoo wanted his, short pass offense and all that crap, and it just never worked out. So, Pat Shurmur, there was just a report that came out that they are throwing the ball deep now, and Eli's really liking it, so I love seeing that kind of stuff. But, you need to play to your team's strengths. I hate when coordinators do this. You need to play with the product you have on the field. You can't just implement a playbook that is good for you, the coach. You need to have something that will work for your players. And I think, the LA Rams did a great job of that this year with McVay and Jared Goff, and you could see the improvement from Jeff Fisher to Sean McVay. So bringing a great offensive mind into your football team can make a huge difference, and I really hope that play calling can enhance Eli and, make him a better quarterback this year. And now this picture, which I found interesting. I think I found this on Pro Football Focus or something like that. I'm pretty sure this was from the season the Giants went 11-5, but this was basically the Giants personnel and play calling and all that. And the Giants ran something I believe called 11 personnel, where you have one tight end, one running back, and 3 wide receivers. And they did this 918 times. And they only ran 61 and 23 different other combinations. Like, I don't understand how you can do this. Like, it kind of seems like impossible. And Mcadoo was just that stubborn guy that would never change his ways. I mean, no matter how much it wasn't working, and no matter how much the fans begged, like, you know, we need to do something else, they would not do it. I mean, you never saw the Giants use a fullback or bring in extra offensive linemen. You can see here they brought in 6 offensive linemen 23 times. I mean, you can't tell me that Eric Flowers needed some help last year. I mean, why not have a guy like Red Ellison, who's a great blocker, you know, chip, Eric Flowers as a guy? I mean, the Giants, they weren't thinking last year. I don't know what they were doing. Mcadoo was just so stubborn and would never change his ways, and that ultimately led to the reason he was fired, and also throwing Eli under the bus never helped. But you know, stuff like that will drive you out of town real quick if it's not working. So now that my criticism of Mcadoo is over, and I did enjoy that, not gonna lie, we'll go into the 2018 improvements. So this was the main Giants team last year after that, Week 5 game against the Chargers with all the injuries, where Marshall and Odell were out for the year, and Sterling Shepard got an ankle injury. So you look at this team. I mean, the average fan probably couldn't name most of these guys. I mean, let's look at Eli's receivers real quick. So it's Avaris King, Sterling Shepard, Roger Lewis, and I believe that's Travis Rudolph. I don't know what kind of quarterback can succeed with that. And you throw in the fact that Eric Flowers is horrible. Justin Pugh was good, but he was moved around everywhere last year. Bobby Hart's a joke. John Jerry is, he's not that good, honestly. Brett Jones was alright, but I mean, what's a center gonna do? He's young. It's not like he's that experienced. The tight ends were bright spots. I like them. Orleans Darkwa wasn't terrible last year. But, what kind of quarterback can win with this team, honestly? You have to be like Aaron Rodgers good to get, even 8 wins out of this team. And, you can't put this on Eli. And then the guy was dealt with this horrible team, this horrible play calling. I mean, it was just a lot of just nonsense going on in the Giants organization. And, I don't care who you are. You're not going to make the playoffs with this team. And maybe getting the number 2 pick was a blessing in disguise, and this whole year was worth it, but we'll have to see how Saquon does. So let's get into the upgrades for the offensive line. So on the left side, you go from Eric Flowers to Nate Solder, and some people want to say Nate Solder was overpaid, whatever. He was dealing with some personal issues last year. I believe his kid was sick or something along those lines, and once that got past him, he was incredible the second half of the season. So, left tackle is a position that is really hard to find, and if someone's out there on the market that is really good, you have to pay that much for him. I mean, that's just how it goes in the NFL. I mean, we could not go another year with Eric Flowers. I do not blame Gettleman for wanting to get Nate Solder, so completely fine with that. You go from Justin Pugh to Patrick Omameh, which in some people's minds might be a downgrade. I mean, I think for run blocking, Omameh is better, but we're gonna miss Justin Pugh's versatility and all that kind of stuff, but it's not like a huge downgrade there. Brett Jones is gonna stay. I heard Jalapio might start at center, so we'll see how that goes in camp. You have John Jerry replaced with Will Hernandez, huge improvement, and then Bobby Hart, who I could not stand. He was cut right when Gettleman took over because of his attitude and all that, is replaced by most likely Eric Flowers. Chad Wheeler's name has been thrown out there as well, but people want to say that Flowers' quote-unquote natural position is right tackle, so we'll see how that goes. I obviously have no faith in Eric Flowers. If he gives us a mediocre season, I would be pretty happy with that, but we'll have to see how that goes. But having him not protect Eli's blind side is definitely nice to have, and this is a big improvement compared to last year's offensive line. I mean, it's not going to be not the top 10 line in the league, but it could be serviceable, and that's really all we need at this point. So on to running game, and I wanted to throw in the league ranks the Giants for the last 2 years. 2016, they were 29th, and 2017, 26th. That's what Eli was handed at the running back position. And there was a big group of people in the comment section, which I always read, that said, hey, if you give Eli a run game, it'll take a lot of pressure off him and all that. Well, you know what? Here you go. Here's Saquon Barkley, a very dynamic player. Supposed to be one of the most explosive players in recent memory that was drafted high as a running back. You take Jonathan Stewart, a veteran who, he's a bruiser and will be a good mentor for Barkley. And I know I didn't throw him in there, but let's not forget Wayne Gallman. But you go from Darkwa to Barkley, a much more dynamic player. Darkwa was not great at catching the ball, but Barkley, can do everything on the field. Even his pass protecting is great, and the run game is a huge improvement. I think of all things that is the most improved, and I'm really excited for it. If Barkley is that guy that we expect him to be, it'll be so much easier, and to think of the impact that would have on the play action passes would be even greater. If Saquon Barkley is a feared opponent for most teams, think about how much that'll open passing lanes for Eli. So it really comes down to how good Barkley's going to be this year. I hope Stewart can take some pressure off him as well, and I think ultimately it'll take pressure off Eli in the end. So I like where we're going with the running game, and I'm actually really excited about it. And on to a pretty important part, the guys that will be catching balls from Eli Manning, the wide receivers. We go to the upgrades there. You go from Sterling Shepard, who was considered the one once Odell went down. You go from Shepard to a healthy Odell, hopefully. Tavares King, who I believe is no longer on the team. You go from him to Sterling Shepard. Roger Lewis, the Cody Latimer. I put Latimer over Lewis because I think Latimer is going to be like one of those diamond in the rough type of players that, I think he wasn't really given a fair opportunity in Denver. He's supposedly a really good special teams player, so I like hearing that. But, he's a pretty big receiver, put up some great stats in college. I believe he was a second-round pick, so, he's still pretty young. I think he's like 24, 25. So if they can find something out of Latimer and hopefully he can stay healthy, that'll be great. And then you go from Travis Rudolph to Roger Lewis. Roger Lewis isn't the most consistent receiver, but he did make some big plays for us last year. I recall that game-winning catch he had against the Chiefs. I think it was in overtime. So he has the potential to do that. So you have four guys that are, pretty good receivers. Odell Beckham, when he's right, when he's healthy, is top 3 in the game, no doubt about it. I think he's top 2. Sterling Shepard is a great possession receiver, reliable. Cody Latimer can be that, big guy in the red zone that they go to. And Roger Lewis has the ability to make big plays as well. So I think, it's not a dream scenario at wide receiver. You like to have like a quote-unquote big 3 like the Giants supposedly had the last 2 years with Marshall and Cruz, and they never really panned out. But, if Latimer or Lewis can step up and be, just good enough, maybe have like a 800-yard year, 5 or 6 touchdowns, it'll be a huge impact, and we need Odell to do his thing and, make big plays for us, and that's what we expect, and I think Odell expects that from himself. So I really hope that he gets back to his old ways, and Sterling Shepard can take another step, and Latimer and Lewis can somehow step up. But overall, it's looking good at the wide receiver position. On to the Shurmur Effect, and if you're familiar with Pat Shurmur's history and his work, you can tell that he made these 3 guys into really good quarterbacks somehow. And before this year, I bet most of us didn't know who Nick Foles was. I guess Giants fans did because he started for the Eagles for a while. But you have Sam Bradford and Case Keenum, who just came out of nowhere. With Pat Shurmur calling his plays. So you look at Nick Foles' stats in 2013. Shurmur was the offensive coordinator for the Eagles that year. He had 27 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, and a rating of 119. So Nick Foles was like at one point a journeyman. We probably know the story already, so I won't get into that. But the fact that he made this guy a 27-2 ratio is insane. That just came out of nowhere, and a lot of that probably has to do with play calling because, Nick Foles didn't really do much the rest of his career up until the second half of this year. You go to Sam Bradford. I know he only played with that one game last year against the Saints, but he lit it up. The year before that, though, a 71% completion percentage. That is really, really good. And that's the thing about Shurmur. He played to Sam Bradford's strengths. he didn't make him go deep that much. It was a lot of short passes, and he did things that were good for him. And having a high completion percentage was something that Bradford was capable of doing because of his accuracy. He almost threw for 4,000 yards and had a 20-5 touchdown interception ratio, almost a rating of 100. And then you go to Case Keenum, which is the most recent story, and I'm sure most of us know about that. Came from the Rams, was not good at all. Was replaced by Jared Goff halfway through 2 years ago, and then started for the Vikings after the Bradford injury. Teddy Bridgewater wasn't ready, so Case Keenum stepped up and had a magnificent year. He was paid pretty big time by the Broncos this year, so he should thank Pat Shurmur for that. Threw for a 68% completion percentage almost, 22 touchdowns, 7 picks, and a rating of 98. So you think to yourself, okay, these guys can do this, and these guys aren't really big-name quarterbacks. I mean, I think Bradford was like a first pick, but never really panned out like that. But you take a guy like Eli Manning, who's like top 10 in passing touchdowns, top 10 in passing yards, 2 Super Bowl wins, 2 Super Bowl MVPs, and you give Pat Shurmur to him. Now you think, okay, what can he do with him? And I'm really excited about it. I mean, you have a mind like Pat Shurmur, and he gets the best out of his players, and I think he'll find a way, even at 37 years old, to get the best out of Eli Manning. And it just makes me really excited as a Giant fan to see what's going to happen and different formations they're going to use and all that stuff. So it'll be really interesting. So this picture I got from Pro Football Focus as well, and this would also impact Saquon Barkley, of course. You look at Case Keenum's numbers and his Pro Football Focus grades, and how much it shot up the year with Pat Shurmur, over 20 points. And you look at Jerick McKinnon, who somehow in 2016 had an under 50 rating, not good at all the way up to 84.5, and that was after the injury to, I forget the guy's name, I think it was something Cook, the running back for the Vikings. And Jerick McKinnon and Latavius Murray were splitting reps, and he got a lot out of Jerick McKinnon, who at that point was given a lot of opportunities. When Adrian Peterson was suspended, I remember he split with like Matt Asiata or something like that, and he never really panned out. But this year with Shurmur as his coordinator, he was able to get the most out of Jerick McKinnon. Also made him a lot of money. I think McKinnon went to the 49ers or something like that and got paid a lot. So, I mean, Pat Shurmur's out here making guys a lot of money, and you think about how much better of a player Saquon Barkley is compared to Jerick McKinnon. You think about how great Barkley can be, not only Eli. I mean, I might do a separate video for Barkley. We'll see how that goes. But, you think about how much Shurmur gets out of these players, and I think Eli is probably a better player than Case Keenum. I don't know about now in their careers, but overall, Eli is much better based off his accolades and accomplishments. And then Saquon Barkley should obviously be better than Jerick McKinnon, but we haven't seen anything yet. But based off the projections, you would think that Barkley and Eli definitely have the upper hands over these guys. Now, I saw this video on YouTube. It was someone posted all the Vikings touchdowns from this year. And obviously Shurmur coming from the Vikings, I picked out some plays I liked that he ran, and decided to look at them and show you guys, to kind of give you a taste of what Shurmur can bring. And these obviously aren't the Giants players, but you think about some of the complexity of these play calls. You look at this play action here, hits Diggs, and I've kind of put Odell in Diggs' shoes and think about how great that could be. But there's a lot of different looks. Right here, you would not see the Giants do this. This play right here, a lot of blockers out in front for Jerick McKinnon, who we just mentioned, finds the hole. I mean, think about Saquon Barkley getting that type of space. He would be gone as well, probably not even touched. Right here, great screen pass. There's McKinnon once again, finds his way to the end zone. Pat Shurmur right here, I love this play. I mean, this was just, he got McKinnon in motion, handed him the ball, no one expected it. Here's a nice little rollout. Another fake handoff. You got a man wide open here. That's probably an offensive lineman or something. Screen pass here. I think that's Jarius Wright. Dives in the end zone. I like how Shurmur uses fullbacks too. The Giants would never do that. they had a little Nikita Whitlock phase, and I think we had someone this year, I forget, but some of these plays Shurmur did really impressed me and opened my eyes, so I just wanted to show you guys that. And the last part of this video, he's not done yet. So some Eli Manning plays from this previous year. Even in a shitty 3-13 season, this pass was incredible. Right between like 3 people, tight window. Shepard took it all the way in that big fourth quarter in Philadelphia. But there were some throws Eli made this year that, even this run, I mean, when have we seen Eli Manning do this? So, you know, I admitted in the past, Eli Manning's on a decline, I get that, but he's definitely capable of, you know, just like this, dropping this ball right in the bucket for Roger Lewis, I think that was. This play I love from Eli. Little head fake, gets the defender jumping. Odell, no one's within 10 yards of him, that's easy. Stuff like that. I mean, he still puts a lot of zip on the ball. I think this pass right here, some good zip on that. Great accuracy. Nice little corner route there. I don't know who the hell that was catching the ball. Slant pass. I mean, you may say it's a simple pass here to King, but you know, the placement of the ball on a slant pass is huge, and Eli's placement right there was tremendous, right over the middle here. So, you know, Eli Manning, I still think, has a lot left to offer, even at this age. And, you know, I think with these players around him and the new play calling and the new offensive line and the upgraded running back, I think this year can be a nice year for Eli. I'm not really going to throw a legit projection out there, but I think he'll exceed 4,000 yards. This is, of course, if he plays all 16 games. I think he'll get somewhere between 25 and 30 touchdowns, and hopefully keeps the interceptions somewhere around 10. I hope it doesn't get out of hand, but you know, Eli's definitely been around long enough to know not to make stupid throws, and hopefully he won't feel as under pressure or hurried this year, and he'll make smarter plays. So we'll see. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you want me to do more player projections this year, I was thinking about Saquon, as I said before, maybe Odell, maybe Evan Engram, something like that. Just comment, and if you like this video and want to throw out your own Eli projections, please do so. And if you stuck to the end, thank you for watching.